Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is another stock video I'll be covering. But before getting into detail, I'll be covering the little bit broader business space of this. Also, I'll just simply share this video directly without any cut. So if there are any breaks or something which might video might be long, but I'll try my best to give you the solid business updates about this, and will help you understand what this business does. So talking about the space, we have seen a growing trend of like offices setting up their new office infrastructure in tier 2 tier 3 cities, right? Earlier, at least 10 years back, most of the companies used to focus only in tier 1 cities because they used to find good talents in tier 1 cities, limited to tier 1 cities. But as internet is expanding, and the way people have got into internet, it has given them a space to improve their skill faster, build and create an equilibrium in any part of the world. So today a person is equally talented who is in a tier 1 city or a tier 2 city or a tier 3 cities, and this is a very growing trend, and all of these companies have started looking at it as a positive way to basically take an opportunity out of it. So earlier what used to happen is, any company who wanted to like start their business, they used to think that tier 1 is like a best space to get started, because it's very easy for them to find talents and to get started, because the environment is very supportive for them. They get easy talents, they get easy environment, and even the customer targets are in tier 1 city. But we see a different we see a change in India today, and the behavior is very different today. So as tier 2 tier 3 cities are growing, and we also notice that a lot of companies have started setting up their offices in tier 2 cities, especially so I'll be talking about this company called EFC India Limited, where what they do is they help these companies who want to set up in tier 2 cities to rent out a space and allow them to get started very fast. So what EFC does is they take a building or a land for lease, and from landlords, and they set up the entire infrastructure with proper office aesthetic, good office environment, like setting up good operational culture around of how offices need to be performed and look, and the kind of like setting up a proper chairs, table, meeting rooms, every internet connection, any operational needs like cafeteria, all of these things in these buildings. And what they do is they reach out to companies who are willing to or looking to start in their offices in tier 2, and these offices. So let me take an example like Reliance, right? So suppose Reliance wants to open their office in Pune. What they will do is they will reach out to EFC, because EFC has like a lot of property in Pune, which they manage entire operation of that property. So Reliance will tell, okay, I need like 1,000 seats from you guys, and EFC will make sure that they can they will make sure that they provide those 1,000 seats very comfortable for the employees of Reliance, and they will create an entire setup very fast. So Reliance team will not have to like go there, buy your land or buy your office space, or rent out an office space separately, set up a furniture separately. All these things are quite a hectic or a heavy job to be done, right? So they pass on this task to EFC, and EFC makes sure that everything is set up, and any company can get started there with their work very comfortably. So what EFC does is, EFC used to basically rent out a space, and they used to rent these like based on number of seats. So each seats currently they rent for 6,500 to 7,000 rupees per seats per month. But recently they have, so earlier, like as I mentioned earlier, they used to put these offices for rentals, but currently they have changed few things in the business, which is a very interesting strategic decision what they have done. So they also offer like a design and build option. So what does this mean is, they So suppose there is a space, they will customize and design the entire space with a more optimal, utilizing the space properly, putting as much seats possible, and creating a good culture and the environment for these offices. And because of this aesthetic, a lot of companies now prefer like a good looking offices to be there, right? So like I have also noticed, like long back, like a lot of companies used to just simply set up like a basic office and get used to just carry on there with their work. But today, as the culture has been changing, people need a good environment, a good setup, so that when their employee comes, they also enjoy the office culture. They come to office regularly, they feel comfortable, and there's no problem with them, like internet connection or a bad seat or bad space, or somebody, like everything is should be very clean and maintained, right? So EFC does that job. So the second business which they started is design and build, which is like designing the entire space and then constructing and building the entire infrastructure, which is like an interior design projects. And then third business is like a furniture related. So what they do is they recently acquire a company who manufacture furnitures. So and what the kind of furnitures, especially like office chairs, good sofa, like especially focusing in commercial or office spaces, sofas or tables, and very very high aesthetic classic sofas and chairs what they manufacture. So what EFC started is, they started with offering rental, then design, like interior design and building the office spaces, and third is also manufacturing these high quality furniture. Because of this three level of business strategy, what happened is a lot of so this is kind of a backward integration, right? Where earlier what they used to do is, they used to go to go to landlords and used to take these suppose a property for lease for 3 years, and then they used to reach out to an interior designer separately, ask them to design an office space. So once an interior designer does that job, then the interior designer used to hire a contractor who used to come and then put up the furniture. So again, it used to take some certain time, time for entire setup. And then once everything is done, they had to buy sometime few furnitures from outside. So it is a high cost business, right? So it needs a high capex for somebody to get started or set up an office. So what EFC did, EFC so instead of buying a property, they started leasing this property. That is one. Second thing, they thought, let's build our own design team and own carpenter, like own manufacturing setup, who can help us improve the supply chain and the setup very fast, where we have a proper like a supply chain control, then we have a labor control, we have a margin control in this, we can execute on time, and that helps such businesses leverage and become a more competitive in such environment, right? We saw like co-working space earlier, like a failed business kind, which we have heard also, like WeWork. But this is something what they did is they learned from that that failure, or like what are the challenges in WeWork, and then they just wanted to improve that from that learning, and now they see they have utilized those learning and operating in a very different way. They have completely backward integration, they have done solid backward integration, which has helped them move fast and deliver a good quality office spaces. So now let me get into more detail. I hope you guys have understood what they do. So so I also explained you guys like why did they actually bought these different companies to integrate with their business, what kind of setups they are trying to do, how they are solving a problem for a customer, and what is their offering, right? So apart from their rental space, they also offer their other two subsidiaries, like that is design and build, and third one is furniture manufacturing, separately also to many companies, whoever is looking for. So that's majorly about what their business looks like. It's a very light light capex, not like heavy capex of buying of property, but instead of that they lease out and then they rent out to different companies. So that is one setup. Then it also is like a proxy play for real estate. So they are also planning to launch a REIT. REIT is kind of a you can say like a share where they will buy a property, and then people who buy those REIT, they will use that amount of that, like they will raise the money through after listing that REIT, and they will utilize that money to buy a property, and based on whatever the rental comes, then they will try to distribute a certain portion to the shareholder of that REIT, right? Anyways, that's like that is also something which they are planning to do, but let's focus on what they are doing currently, right? So they were explaining like how their design and build work. So sometime a lot of offices, when they like when their seats increase, like when they want to increase their occupancy, they sometimes want to customize their existing space, or they look for a new space. And one more thing you have noticed, that any company who wants to set up a office, they prefer an entire interior to look like their own branding. Like they make sure the branding is similar, all the offices in every other state or every other location looks similar. The consistency is something which they look for, the look and feel, the culture, the environment, everything is like, now everyone has that demand, right? EFC becomes a very important play for that, and it helps in executing and getting things done very fast. So as we go more detail into this, they also mentioned that recently they actually created an entire execution of design and build of a 1,000 square feet, not 1,000, I think 10,000 square feet space in interior design in 2 months, which is an incredible job, because these things takes almost 6 months or of time, but they did very fast because of their entire integration. And what they do is they lease out, and they like as I mentioned all those things, they are also planning to, by the way, launch their REIT in 2025 itself. And talking about the entire year performance, they did almost like a 56 year-on-year growth in their revenue, and almost more than 2x in their PAT. And currently they manage around 60,000 seat capacity, and they always try to make sure that the occupancy of those like utilization of those seats are 90%, and that is what they always put their focus into. And as I've also explained, like how this helps in improving their margin, they also mentioned that because of this backward integration, they will be last year they mentioned that because of this backward integration, they will be able to increase their margin, and they have actually proved it. So this year, after all the acquisition, and when they integrated all the other businesses, they noticed that from 15% or I think 18%, the margin has increased to 21% overall, which is again a very interesting thing to see. I'm talking about a PAT margin. So talking about this quarter revenue, this quarter revenue was almost around 211 crore, which is almost 126% like more from like 126% growth from last quarter as in like last year quarter. And they did a almost 48 crore PAT this quarter, which is almost 72% growth from last year quarter. So which is again very interesting to see. Currently they are, as I mentioned, they are managing almost 60,000 seats. They have a target to reach around 85,000 seats in end of this year, which is 2026 financial year, which is again very interesting thing to see the way they are growing. They are targeting almost 40% growth on their current seat capacity. Second thing is on a whole year revenue, they did almost like 657 crore overall revenue, which is again a very interesting, which is almost 57% year on year increase. Then second thing is their entire year PAT was around 140 CR, which is almost, again I mentioned, almost double the last year. So it is almost 122% increase from the last year PAT. And they also increased their margin this time, so the PAT margin has become almost 21%. Earlier it was lesser. So which is again, this shows that their backward integration is helping. The entire revenue also has changed now. The entire revenue structure has changed. So currently their revenue, 56% of the revenue comes from rentals, from rental incomes. Then 40% of the revenue comes from design and building incomes, and 4% of the income come from furniture. So let me also help you understand what the furniture business looks like. So basically what they did is they recently acquired a design and furniture company who design these aesthetic furnitures and manufacture in their factories. They have a very good system to manufacture fast and high quality furnitures, and recently also they got a good order book from Middle East, who want some certain furniture, so they will be delivering this in UAE very soon, mostly in this year. Talking about more about this, what is and also recently actually they purchased two property. One is 50,000 square feet plot, and another one is 26,500 square feet space. Both of this space total overall they're managing 2,100 seats in this own space. So as they own this space, they will be able to have better margin. But this is something very small percentage of property which they own up in their overall total business. And they also mentioned they maximum own, I think, 10 to 20%, maximum 10%, I guess, of their entire property which they are managing. Rest are all on lease, and almost minimum of 3 years of lease they take for setting up any furniture or putting up into rentals. Another thing, they have a order book of almost 200 CR in design and in-house setup segment, and little more detail about where these business are located. So this is located around in 9 cities of Maharashtra, and then they have almost like currently successfully delivered 150 plus projects. They have almost 79 sites which they are managing, and around more than 600 client base today in their business. And second thing is their furniture business, which I was talking about, has a capacity of 300 crore business like manufacturing capacity, and currently this year they are targeting around 50 to 60% of utilization of that business, that whole capacity. So you can assume almost like 150 CR is for sure they will be able to utilize in furniture. Then they said almost 200 CR of order book for design and build. So this is around total comes down to 350 CR, which is almost like already there with them. Plus currently whatever the office space which they are managing, they mentioned 56% of revenue is of the entire year revenue is through rental. So if we calculate quick, like, so I'm also like helping you guys to understand how do we calculate these numbers and like do a projection of next year. So if we calculate like 6,670 like 57 crore, so 60% of 657 crore is almost let me calculate that quickly. Which is around 394. So currently, okay, so you can also add 394 crore from rental, which is again for sure this will come, and minimum expectation is that. Now next is what we can do is also they mentioned that we will grow our rental by 60 to 70%, right? Again, it is saying we will grow our rental from 60%. So if 394 is the current 60% of their rent of the entire revenue is rental, and if 394 is a rental income, so let me calculate and add more 60% growth into this. So if I calculate 60% of 394 plus 394 becomes 630. So 630 crore of rental target for this year, and 350 crore of design and furniture business will contribute, which is 350 crore, and it comes down to, let me quickly do that math, 630 crore plus 350 becomes 980 crore. So current year revenue was 657. Next year target is 980 crore, right? Again, a very interesting thing to see. If I again calculate what is the overall percentage, 980 crore is around, so it's down to almost 48% of revenue growth, which is already very clear, which I see as a very clear picture overall in the business. And they are also planning to achieve a PAT of almost 200 CR, which they mentioned. So again, this PAT is based on my calculation. Actually, the next year PAT target, if a current PAT is almost 140 crore, and if they're targeting beyond 200, and the current business market cap is almost 3,333 crore. So let me quickly do a math for you guys. If it is 3,000 rupees crore, like 3,300 rupees, 3,300 crore market cap, if we divide it by our current PAT, the business looks at, so it looks like almost 23 P ratio, which is the current P ratio. And 1 year forward P ratio, I can say, so 300, I'll divide by almost 220 crore. Based on my calculation, it is coming out around 220 crore PAT for next year, which is around 15 P. So the 1 year forward P is 15, current P is 23, and business is almost 3,300 crore rupees business. That is the current market cap. Sorry. So yeah, that's majorly about the business, which looks very interesting to me. Very good opportunity. Their competitor, which is Office, which is again a similar, they do like rental. They recently in their business updates mentioned that they are also planning to actually acquire a design and manufacturing space. Currently they also do these things outsourced, but now they are looking at EFC, how EFC is able to improve their business. So I'm guessing Office is also trying to do something similar. So which also sets a trend that these kind of rental space business cannot be run just through rental, because it is hardly 10 to 12% of income. But when they do backward integration, when they own other supply chains, it helps them to grow fast and build a good business, solid business, and able to make good money for themselves and their shareholders. Office is planning to do something similar. Second thing is Office is growing around 40% year on year, and this business, that is EFC, is growing around 65% year on year, which is again comparing with their peer, they are doing better. And as it is, also they mentioned that there's a good scope of increasing their overall business in coming future, because the trend of renting out offices or this co-working space for startups, or this rental space, which is like you can rent out for a day or two, is growing in tier 2, tier 3 cities now. And one more thing, one interesting thing to look at about EFC is they usually look at companies who wants a biggest office space, so like 1,000 sitting capacity or like 500 sitting capacity, because such engagements are always like long term. It's not like short term of like or and also it helps them put up their entire office space in one go. They don't have to look for multiple clients or companies to rent out, because if they just focus on startups, it becomes very difficult, because most of the startups have like 10 to 20 people, and if they do that, they have to go look for more and more companies. But when they try to look at a bigger companies, they're able to do that faster, because they have to just focus on 1 or 2 companies, and they can do their job and focus on their business much more, like to actually achieve a bigger number, or like a good profit, or like focus on growing their business, instead of just focusing on always renting out. Always their focus is to keep 90% occupancy in tight, so which is again a very interesting thing to see. And they can't actually lose out a seat not getting rented out, or people who like an empty seats, which is a huge loss. So they focus on that to always increase. I think that's all. I am very happy about sharing this, and I'll try my best to share more and more of something similar with the companies which I'm looking at. I almost study more than 100 companies now. But yeah, that's all. Thank you.